bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear, and today we have the privilege of sitting with big man here, Colin MacDonald with the London Knights. And Colin, obviously, you've got a pretty cool hockey journey. I mean, as far as being from the area and then getting an opportunity to work with the big club, which is pretty cool. If someone came up to you on the street and said, "Hey, Colin, where's home for you?" What would you tell them?
I'd be right here in London. I mean, I grew up here. I lived half my life in the U.S., but born and raised in London, went to school in London, played minor hockey in London, and now getting to work with the Knights. It's a dream come true for me.
So super boring, man. Just living in London the whole time.
Yeah. You could say that. I mean,
where were you in the States?
I lived in Kalamazoo, Michigan, so home of the K-Wings. So I watched watched the K-Wings growing up, and then I lived in Plymouth, Michigan too, when I was playing in the OHL.
Right. Okay. Yeah. What brought you guys to Kalamazoo? Was it
my dad's work?
Okay.
So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, which is great. Owe everything to her for raising us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what Mark and everyone says at the race.
For sure.
But no, we moved there for my dad's work. He worked as a plant manager, and then he's worked a bunch of different places. He ended up finishing up here in Strathroy at Meridian. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah,
very cool. Now, how old are you in Kalamazoo?
Moved there when I was 3 and stayed there till I was 11. Okay. So about 8 years there.
Do you notice a big difference going from I know you were young, so let's say at a 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. Did you notice a big difference going from the States to Canada? Did you know, or was it just kind of normal?
It was pretty normal. Yeah. I'd say the only thing is I had a pretty bad Michigan accent.
Did you really?
Oh yeah. So
because all your formative years would have been.
Yeah. That's so when I got back in grade 6, it was, I had a pretty big accent and all the kids would make fun of me and stuff at school, joke around, it was good fun. It was kind of funny. So
that is great.
Yeah.
Now in living down there, did you end up getting any kind of citizenship or?
We didn't. No, I'm full Canadian citizen.
Yeah, okay.
We never got American citizenship while there.
Sick, though, no? Kind of, no?
Yeah. I mean, I like being Canadian.
No, 100%, but it's always nice to have a back pocket.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that kind of thing. Like say if you're ever to go down and work in the States, not having to worry about visas and whatnot. But
especially in the, not that it's a big deal because you get a visa, no problem if a job ever came up, but being in the industry that you're in, sometimes that helps, maybe push the resume through a little bit or
for
right?
sure.
But,
I mean, it can definitely be beneficial, but it's just something that my dad never really looked into.
You can blame your parents for that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll blame them for that one.
Just like I blame my parents for me being short, bald, and a little overweight. It's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's cool. And then how long did it take you to kick your accent?
That's a good question. I'd probably have to ask some of my buddies about that. I'd probably say 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. I got back to the Canadian accent.
You just got to shame
the right way, not
got to shame.
So it was good.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing what like some chirping from the boys will do for you, eh? Just change a lot of things.
Exactly. Yeah. You try and catch on to how they're talking and everything like that. So it was good.
That's good. Yeah. And then minor hockey, obviously played a little bit in Kalamazoo, I'm assuming. And then when you switched over, when you came back to London, you're in those kind of competitive years now where it's PB, AA or AAA potentially. Where did you play here growing up?
So it was a tough transition coming back to London. I came back my first year, got cut from AAA, cut from AA. So I played single A during my first year coming back.
That was all politics. It wasn't your fault. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I was a late bloomer. I was the type of kid that I was always pretty tall, but I was pretty skinny.
Yeah.
So it took me a bit of time to put everything together. I was a little bit uncoordinated when I was younger. So I think that was part of it, but it was good experience for me playing at those levels like single A and AA. It really gave me the opportunity to develop my game so that way I could keep improving.
Yeah. Now you may not remember this or not, but I would like the one thing with, when we're talking to guests and stuff, when I'm talking to guests, what I like to do is kind of relate it back to young guys when I got cut or, and how that felt. But I mean, coming from Kalamazoo, I'm assuming you played, you're probably, real good player there. And now you're coming back to your kind of hometown. Not that you remember it as your hometown, but you come back and getting cut from AAA. Okay. Yeah. All right. Maybe I get it. I'm not in the fold here. I'm not in the mix. Mm-hmm. But then getting cut from AA, do you remember what that was like? That had to have been oh man.
Yeah, it's tough for any kid, I think. Yeah. Even AAA, I didn't know what to expect coming back to London. I think every kid goes into tryouts hoping that they're going to make the team. You don't see all the outside stuff involved in making a team. So I think coming back, it was pretty difficult to get cut from AAA and AA because playing in Kalamazoo, I don't know what the level of hockey was, but I played competitive hockey when I was there. I played on the K-Wings team when I was playing there. So getting cut from teams was something that I hadn't experienced yet. So it was definitely something that was difficult to go through, but I think it kind of creates a little bit of resilience for
100%.
anyone that's able to kind of go through that and work their way back up in order to play at higher levels. So
I couldn't agree more, man. I think it's yeah. And now what were your parents like when you went through that? So like they bring you back, you get caught. Was it like, buddy, just suck it up, or were they?
Yeah. My parents, they were always great hockey parents. Like they never yelled at me in the car, did any of that kind of stuff that you might hear about. They were always very supportive of me. Same with my brother. My brother came back and actually got cut all the way through the junior nights, played with North London Nationals B level.
Yeah.
His first year he got cut all the way down to house league and then worked his way back up to play with North London. But they were always really supportive of both of us and making sure that we understood that whatever we needed, they'd support us and try and help us make it to the highest level possible. So I can't say enough about how my parents supported me through that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think a lot of times when players do get cut, though, you hear mom or dad, and I've said this tons of times, but mom or dad will, so-and-so knows the coach, or so-and-so golfs with this guy. And at the end of the day, I think it's, man, I was not good enough to play. I wasn't one of the top 6-7 players on that team. So there's a reason why I got cut. And I think looking at that is huge. Yeah.
And I think my parents were always really good about that kind of stuff. I mean, there's always internal politics within hockey. It's something that everyone sees with teams, but my parents never drew on that to say that's why I wasn't playing. They just said, oh, well, here's what you should need to work on. And my dad was always good. If I asked him questions or asked for feedback, he'd always give me feedback, but he could tell if I didn't want to talk about certain things. So he was great about that. And he gave me little tips on stuff that he thought I needed to work on in order to keep moving up. So that's what I focused on. I didn't focus on, well, my dad doesn't golf with so-and-so or what.
Yeah.
That was never something that I put in my head when I was playing.
Yeah, I know it's good. I think it's important for parents to kind of shield that from kids.
Exactly.
Sometimes they're too open about it.
Yeah.
And the kid doesn't need to know who's golfing with who or who's playing, who's buddies with. You know what I mean?
No.
Work on, buddy, you're not good enough. So let's work on your hockey. Let's work on your skills. Let's work on what you need to get better at. You know?
I agree with that. I think there's definitely different ways parents can convey it. Not so much so that the kid doesn't feel good about how they play it, but telling them that it's because I don't know so-and-so or I don't know this person. I don't think it's the right way to go about it, because I think you can still try and improve your kid, and it allows them to not have reasons as to why they didn't play, and they can just work on the things that they need to improve on, which I think is most important.
Yeah. And you said something earlier about, God kind of gave you some resiliency. And I think, I think those obstacles that we face in life kind of help formulate who we are. And, if you don't get cut ever, then you don't really know what that is, whether that's not getting a job or it's getting fired or whatever it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think the hockey world and playing any type of sport, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, whatever every kid plays, I think it develops different skills for you and learning how to adapt with different situations once you get later in your life and start working in the working world, because same things happen once you start working. People don't realize that when they're playing sports, but there's a lot of transferable skills and different things that you learn.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of the beauty about sport, I think, is it's not about getting a scholarship or getting drafted. I mean, that'd be awesome and that's great, but it's more about like those life skills and those friendships and those obstacles and all that stuff, I think is massive.
Exactly. I think that's like our coaching staff in London. That's the biggest thing. Like, obviously we want to win games. I think everyone has seen that with what the Hunters have been able to do. But I think the biggest thing that we take out of bringing these kids in is being able to move them on after they're done playing with our team and have them being adults and mature people that are respectable within the community. That's the biggest accomplishment, I would say, for us.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, when did you end up jumping back into that AAA train? So you kind of got cut that year, and then how long did it take you to kind of get back into it?
So I would have been in grade 6 when I played single A. I didn't actually make AAA until my minor midget year.
Okay.
So I played double A my whole time with the junior nights up until minor midget, which was the draft year. So, obviously that was always my goal, make it by my draft year. So that way I could get more exposure for the OHL, because that was eventually what my goal was.
Yeah.
And it ended up working out. I played really well my major Bantam year in double A, and new coach came in from outside the organization and watched the double A playoffs that year before and liked how I played and kind of went from there and made it during the summer.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
And then going through that draft year, well, go jump ahead. I'm going to come back in a sec, but going through that draft year, obviously first year playing AAA in Ontario, which is cool. And how'd that draft work out for you? Like
for me, it was awesome. I mean, I was playing AAA for my first year. So a lot of kids that had played AAA all the way growing up, they were so focused on their draft year.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I was focused on just playing as well as I could and making sure that I was getting as many minutes as I could playing the AAA level, which I think helped me in the long run with my draft year because I didn't focus on any outside noise. Having said that, I was a later round pick. I wasn't a top end prospect that every team was coming to interview and talk to. But I just worked hard and worked at my own game so that I could get noticed. And luckily I got noticed with Plymouth.
Oh, it's cool, man. Yeah. And I mean, obviously carved out a pretty cool career.
Yeah.
Now going back, you touched on it a little bit, but I know I always tell parents like the minor midget year as a parent and as a player sometimes too, it's the worst year of hockey because there's so much pressure. You go to a game, there's a bunch of clipboards in the stands, there's people watching, they know there's draft coming up, obviously. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And I think a lot of the parents go a little squirrely. They have a real hard time with it and do some things that maybe they shouldn't and starts, knee jerk reaction to stuff what the coaches are doing or whatever's going on.
For sure.
What was it like when you went through it? Like the nice thing with you is you're just basically trying to prove that you're a AAA player.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to get drafted, but you're treading water. You want to make sure you're swimming okay by the end of the year. So you're probably in a different spot than these other kids, obviously. But did you notice some of the pressures and some of the, the scouts and all that kind of stuff that goes around with it? Yeah,
I definitely. I mean, everyone kind of talks about it. Guys are telling you, I got a letter from so-and-so team. I talked to so-and-so. And it was definitely, there was a lot of noise there during that season, figuring out, what round might this guy go? What round might this guy go? But I think one thing, going back to my parents, that they did is they shielded me from that pretty well. Yeah. Just in terms of they wouldn't come I wouldn't get in the car and they'd tell me that so-and-so is there and so-and-so is there and this team and so on. We would just chat about my game. We wouldn't chat about what teams are there and all the outside stuff that you can't really manage or do anything about. Totally. My dad was always a big believer of just manage what you can manage and things will work out for you.
Yeah. I think that's huge. How bad though? Sometimes do you want to like ask your dad if you talk to anybody? So hey, dad, seriously, I saw Oshawa there, man. Did you talk to them?
Yeah, I think every kid goes through that. I mean, 100%, you want it's good to feel like you're wanted by certain teams and whatnot. Yeah. So, I mean, you'd always want to ask that kind of stuff, but at the same time, my parents wouldn't lie to me if they hadn't talked to the team. So you kind of sometimes you didn't want to know if you were getting talked to by a certain team and whatnot. Yeah. So no, it was a good experience. It was good for me to go through that. That way I can now working in my role, I can relate to kids with what they're going through at the minor midget draft year. And, even guys that maybe don't end up getting drafted. I was a later round pick, kind of similar in a sense. So I can chat with them about what I did and what I went through in order to make it.
Now getting drafted later rounds, now we talk to a lot of kids these days that are, either going to get drafted potentially, or maybe they don't get drafted.
Yeah.
One of the things I tell them, and it's more of a question for you because obviously you're right in the know on it, but I tell a lot of the kids, whether you're drafted in the 4th round or the 15th round or whatever it is, doesn't matter. You're pretty much all in the same boat as far as getting drafted late or not getting drafted, meaning you're probably not going to play in the O your first year, which is fine. Right. So now what do you do from that point on? Now, as a draft pick, I think it's a good feather in your cap, whether you're an 11th round pick, it's cool. I got drafted. You can always say that, which is awesome. And it gives you a little bit of clout getting into junior B teams or a minor midget AAA or a midget AAA team. Like it helps for sure. But for the kid that doesn't get drafted or maybe gets drafted really, really late, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If you didn't get drafted or you did. Now, it's nice to be a part of a team. Yeah. You know as well as I do, if you're a 14th round pick in London, you might have an opportunity, but your window or your chances are a lot slimmer. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think for any kid that gets drafted, it's great because you get involved and you get to be a part of an organization and see what they're about. Us specifically in London, they get their development plans that we put together. I know that you're involved in that with us as well. Sure. And that's something that you wouldn't get if you go undrafted. But at the same time, I think there's enough resources out there for any kid, whether they're a late round pick or they go undrafted, that they can continue to work on their game. Because I would say for the most part, anyone that's a later round pick, it comes down to what their work ethic is. Because every player around those rounds have some sort of skill that separates them from other players, but they have stuff that they need to work on. in order to play at the OHL level, and same with NHL for later round picks.
Yeah.
So I think it's the resiliency and having the character to keep working on the stuff that maybe you aren't very good at, in order to improve your game enough so that hopefully you can give yourself a chance by 17.
Yeah.
That was always my goal. I played major midget when I was 16. I played with the London Nationals as an AP player, and I just kept trying to get on the ice as much as possible. And I'd work out 3-4 times a week, even on top of that schedule, because I knew that I needed to get stronger and get bigger in order to play at 17. So I think that's the biggest thing for kids that are later round picks or go undrafted, is making sure that it doesn't beat you down. Because I know some kids might be a little bit upset if they go in the later rounds, but making sure they work hard enough so that they can give themselves a chance to play.
Yeah. Now for that, let's say 14th round pick or whatever it is, right? To your point, buying in and doing what you need to do. If your goal is playing the OHL, which most kids in this area, in Ontario is, obviously the OHL is everywhere. It's awesome. Then buying into what you need to do and then working your tail off to get to that. No,
for sure.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. And if you don't have an answer, you can come back to it. But are there any late round picks or undrafted players that you can remember over the last couple of years, even maybe that you played with?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're one of these guys who can't use your own name, but that's a later round pick or not drafted that ended up carving out a pretty sick career, even in the OHL and maybe beyond. Yeah.
I mean, two guys that come to mind for me because I played with both of them are Tommy Hughes and Reed McNeil. I mean, both those guys are playing professional hockey still.
Yeah.
They were both guys that I played minor midget with. They went undrafted. They ended up signing as free agents with the Knights, and they carved themselves out pretty good junior careers and now playing professionally too. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, knowing those guys, they both have character and they work hard and know what they need to work at in order to play their games. So I think those two immediately come to mind for me just because it's so close to home for me. I played with them for a number of years. So I think those two guys specifically, and it just kind of speaks to, with my minor midget team, the only guys that ever ended up playing full careers was Reed, Tommy. They're the only guys playing professionally now.
It's crazy,
But
right?
when I say full careers, I mean, those are the only two guys that ended up going and playing pro, and we had 4 draft picks on our team that year. So it's pretty cool for those guys to be able to say they went undrafted to the OHL and carved out pro careers.
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely. Yeah. I always think whether you get drafted or not, I think that's kind of the first milestone. And let's be honest, it's still young. You're 15, 16.
For sure.
I mean, some of these guys haven't even hit full on puberty yet, really, right? And I think that's the first milestone, which is great. But I think, a lot of these kids, another great example is Willie Lahead, who you guys had last year, went undrafted. I mean, I'm not joking, man, and I'm going to sue his mom right now, but she was so upset. And I get it as a parent now. I didn't get it as much at the time, but now as a parent, if somebody slights my kid, I'm going to lose my mind. And if the entire organization slights my kid, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
But she was great, but she was just like really upset about it.
For sure.
Willie's a wicked kid. And he just like, I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to bounce back. Like they were ready to yard sale the gear, like just put it out in the front lawn, sell it. Right. And Willie's like, no, I'm good, man. I'm going to keep going. And man, he ended up getting schooling paid for. Now he's playing pro. Like he's got to play in the O for, a bunch of years, like helped you guys out last year.
Yeah. Getting to know Will, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, he's a character kid. He came into our team, got on with our leadership group right away. It doesn't surprise me at all that he worked his way into getting a pro contract now. So that's a great story. I think for any kid. Will plays a hard game and he competes and he knows what he has to do in order to play at that next level, and he'll work at his game so that he can play in other roles as well while he's up there. So he's a great example.
He was skating this summer and he was skating with our pro guys and stuff and just battles and goes hard and like it's awesome. It kind of elevates the whole tempo.
He brings the work ethic up on any team that he goes to. That was the biggest thing we noticed when he came in, is just how hard he works, and it made our other guys within practices start working hard, and it just helps everyone's game. It helps at Will's game because that's the type of game that he needs to play when he's playing games. And it helps all of our other players because they work that much harder when they're playing around him. So.
Yeah, for sure. And he doesn't care.
No.
Doesn't care if he's going against Dale Hunter for just a fun little drill or he's going to, it doesn't matter. Like keep your head up because he's coming.
Exactly.
But we were sitting there having a drink, like having water or whatever at the bench. And I looked over and I'm like, well, are you going to play in the NHL? He's like, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like just a matter of fact, but he's one of those guys.
He's got a quiet confidence to him. Right?
Yeah. And he's one of those guys I look at him like he might get games in the NHL just because he's tough. He'll play hard. He'll do whatever, block shots, and you see that like they need guys like that, and who knows? I'm not saying he will, but man, he's a kid. If he did, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to bet against him because he's that type
not
of
a
kid and he
chance.
has that character. And
Yeah.
like I said, he's got quiet confidence to him, which you need in order to be a hockey player.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. So moving forward now,
Yep.
you go to Plymouth. Obviously, you don't make the team out of, as a 16-year-old.
Yep.
But then when you get your first chance to get up there and kind of start playing at that level, what were the biggest differences that you noticed going from, that kind of midget junior hockey to the O? Were there some major
there was a few major differences. I think just how quick you need to make plays. I think at every level that you move up, that's what you kind of adjust to. And I think my adjustment from A hockey to AA to AAA kind of helped me with that because I knew there'd be a big adjustment. So that was a big piece, was the speed of the game.
Yeah.
And the other piece is now you're playing against 19, 20-year-olds. And you're a 17-year-old that's not very strong yet still. As much as you work at it, you still need to keep developing your body to be able to play against guys that strong.
Sure, yeah.
So I think that was the big adjustment. And then you're seeing guys like Taylor Hall that are on the ice, and you get stuck out there after an icing and they throw Taylor Hall on the ice and you don't know what you're doing against him. Right. So there's different stuff like that. That was definitely a big adjustment. And, but it was fun. It was one of the best years of my hockey career.
Oh, that's cool, man. Now at 17 coming in as a rookie, and, obviously now you're in the O, it's, half visor, everything kind of changes a little bit. Right. How intimidating was it when you're getting in, when you're walking in the locker room, you're new to this whole thing. So whether you're going from as a young kid going to a new midget team or you're going to a new junior team, it's still nerve wracking. And then you walk in there and you got a bunch of guys. And how long did it take you to kind of start to feel comfortable? Did it take it a whole year until coming back the next year? Did it take a couple months?
Usually it takes a couple weeks, couple months type thing. I would say when you first come into a new team, especially with the junior team where guys have played together for 3 years, you're a new guy to the team. They don't really know you at all. They don't know your personality, what your character's like, that kind of thing. So it takes a bit of time just because you got to earn guys' trust and have them understand that you have their back on the ice. Even though you're a younger guy, you're still going to be out there protecting them whenever you can. So it took a bit of time to adjust to it. And coming into that dressing room, I mean, that year was Tyler Seguin's draft year.
Okay.
So playing with
he's pretty good.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
So playing with him, I mean, it was kind of intimidating coming into my training camp, knowing I was going to be playing that year and practicing against him every single game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's my age, but at the same time, he was an exceptional talent. So it was definitely intimidating to say the least when you come in there, but it was a good group of guys. They took me under their wing when I first got there, and a couple weeks in, it felt like I was at home.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
That's good. Was Jenner there when you were there?
Yeah. So
cool.
Leo Jenner was
Leo,
there.
sorry,
Yeah. Leo was one of those older guys that kind of brought the young guys under his wing. Really great guy.
But man, when you first saw that guy, I
thought he was 30.
Talking to him.
I thought he was 30. He had a full beard.
3 kids.
Yeah. No, when I walked in, Leo was there, and like you said, full beard, but
what a good guy though. Eh?
Great guy. And he was, I still remember to this day, one of our first road trips, he was my roommate. So the way that they did it in Plymouth was they had their older guy room with a younger guy, just to kind of show him the ropes, make sure they get everything on time and stuff. So Leo was my roommate. So he had his rules for the room and stuff like that I had to respect. But no, he was great. I know he's doing well now too. Yeah. So.
Did he throw the tape down in the middle of the room?
Yeah.
Don't cross my side.
he grabbed the remote. We were watching what he wanted to watch. I was fine with it. I was happy to be on the road trip and stuff.
No, that's
so
cool,
it was good.
Man. Very cool. He used to ski with us years ago, and obviously that's Boone Jenner's brother, but such a good guy.
Yeah.
Such an intimidating looking guy.
Yeah. Really good.
Him, just like,
really good. Man. And I trained with both those guys. So I kind of knew Leo a little bit going into it, but Boone as well. I trained with those guys during the summers at one of the gyms here in London. So,
cool. And any advice for young kids going in? Now you deal with it on the management side. So you see these young kids coming in like you did years ago. They're timid and shy and things like that. Do you have any advice for these young kids going into some of these camps when they know that they're probably going to make the team or they're going to have a good chance of making the team? Then they do make the team. Any advice for them on trying to how do you fit into the locker room like that? How do you kind of navigate that?
That's a good question. I think everyone's a little bit different. I think coming into your first year, you have to respect the older guys. Even if you think you might be a better player than them, you still need to respect them when they're on the ice. You're not trying to go out there and embarrass your older teammates because those are the guys that really, when you're getting to a game, someone takes liberty on you, they're going to be the ones that are backing you up. Yeah. So you need to make sure that when you get into the dressing room, everyone understands that you have their back and you want to be part of the team and you're there for the team, not just individual reasons. I think that's the biggest piece. And the older guys catch on to that right away, and they draw to the guys that are there for team reasons and work hard in practice and do all the things right.
Yeah.
So,
I remember, getting in the same thing, getting in junior A tier 2, but I was undersized guy from Sudbury, still had a mullet, like just completely like off the charts, no style compared to Toronto. But I remember like we got in a bit of a line brawl. I think one of the exhibition, like everyone did, because I said whatever, but and I ended up jumping in on it. And then that was one thing, got into one more little tussle in preseason right at the start of the year. And I'm not promoting fighting, but it was one of those things that right away, I got instant respect for my teammates. I protected, or I jumped in for a guy, or what. It doesn't have to be a fight, just even grab the guy. But like, it's that team mentality. And then right away, it was kind of like, okay, this guy's got my back. This guy,
for sure.
So just even for some of these young guys, just even standing up for a teammate. You don't have to fight anybody. Just go tell a guy that you're gonna, shove your stick down his throat later or whatever.
Exactly. I don't think you need to do it. Like, the game's changed now. It's not as much fighting as when you played, or even when I played, which wasn't that long ago. Which is for the better. It's more skilled and more fast. But I think there's different ways where guys can still do that just to show that they have their teammates back, whether it's off ice or on ice. And specifically in games, just if there's a little scrum, just making sure you go up and grab the guy that's trying to do something with your teammate. You know what I mean? Like, there's different stuff like that where the veteran guys will respect them a little bit more and want to help out with the younger players to make sure that they're taken care of when they're playing, away from home for the first time. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, definitely. And then how'd you like Plymouth? Because I know being a Canadian kid, obviously I lived in the States. So for you, it probably wasn't a big deal, but for a lot of the Canadian kids, like, oh man, don't go down to the States. I lived in the States for like 7-8 years. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. I think the people down there are awesome. It's different for sure, but it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. But for you going down there, was it not a big deal? It was kind of just,
living in Kalamazoo, it didn't make it as big a deal, but Plymouth's a great town. I don't know if you've ever been there. Like once, like nothing, I couldn't tell you anything. But
So
it's a really nice town. It's smaller, but Canton and Novi are right there. Like, a lot of the Red Wings actually lived right around that area too. So it's a really nice neighborhood. It's good schools, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit away from the limelight with the media and stuff like that. So we didn't really have to worry about that. We could still be kids. So it has its pros and cons. Like, it was good because you could just be a kid and worry about your hockey. But at the same time, I think it's a different experience playing in London here, where there's a little bit more media. It kind of prepares you a bit better for playing in the NHL. And you have to mature a little bit quicker, which I think has its pros too. So it was definitely one of the best times of my life. I lived with the same billet for 4 years.
Wow, cool.
So it was awesome.
And probably still keep in touch with them.
Still keep in touch with them. And then actually one of my best friends that I played with just got married this past weekend on Saturday in Detroit. So,
cool.
So I was pretty excited for
some
him
of
there.
Were some of the boys from the team there?
I think a couple went. I know one of the goalies, I'm pretty sure, was in his wedding party and stuff. So
that's awesome.
Unfortunately, we had a game, so I wasn't able to attend it, but I definitely messaged him and wished him well. So
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about playing, obviously, somewhere like you did for 4 years. You get a chance to like really get embedded and get to know these guys that have been there for 2 or 3 years. And kind of it's such a cool thing for life, not even just, those 4 years. Right?
Definitely. Yeah. I think the teammates that you have are people that you keep in touch with throughout your life. And if you ever see them, you take off where you just left with them. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I haven't seen you for 3 years. What's going on? Like, you just take off from where you were before. And I think one of the other cool parts that I've kind of seen now and that I'm on the management side of hockey is my connections with the coaches that I had and with the managers that I had. I think one of the first calls when I interviewed for the assistant GM job with the Knights for Rob and Mark was to call Vellucci, who was my GM and head coach there, to get a character reference and stuff like that. So you don't realize it at the time, the impact that those people will have later in your life as well. It's not just while you're playing. And I'm pretty thankful for those guys to kind of have my back. And I still see Joe Steffen, who's the assistant GM now with Flint, around the rinks and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to be able to reminisce about Plymouth and everything.
For sure.
So,
Now you ended up being the captain there, right? So from what round were you drafted in?
So I went in the 14th round.
So 14th round to making the team, which that jump from the 14th round to making the team, how'd that happen just quickly? Like, obviously you go in as a 16-year-old, go to, rookie camp, go to the main camp probably, and then not going to make the team.
Yeah.
Now, were they saying like, listen, keep working out, keep getting stronger. You may have a shot at this, and more, obviously you're a big defenseman and stuff, but was that kind of and then did you have a good idea going in your 17-year-old year, or were you working your tail off to try to steal a spot?
No. So how it worked after I got drafted, I went to their development camp. They said, you had a great camp. We'll see you next year type thing, because they ran a smaller main camp. So they didn't have all their draft picks go to the main camp. I ended up middle of the summer. I think they had seen me play throughout the summer or something, but then they sent me a training camp invite to go to their main camp, because whether people left or they had space, whatever it was. So I saw that as an opportunity. So as a 16-year-old. So I went to the main camp and performed pretty well. I had a good summer that year. I was training. I think I put on 10 pounds. So I had a good training camp there. And after training camp, I still remember to this day, Vellucci said to me, he said, you'll play for the Whalers one day. And that stuck with me, because that whole next year I was like, well, I don't want to play one day. I want to play next year. So I remembered that, and it kind of helped me work towards my 17-year-old year. And I had great mentors along the way too. I had Chuck Dufton was my major midget coach.
Awesome,
obviously, Chuck's well known within the junior knights community. He was very good for me. He had a lot of confidence in my game and let me develop a lot. And then I had Barry Martinelli as the head coach with the London Nationals during that year too. So having those two guys believing in me and giving me opportunities to play was really big for my development. And then I made it after development camp at 17. I signed during that summer. So I knew going into a training camp, I was going to be playing there, but at the same time, I knew that I needed to outwork other guys that also had signed that summer so that I could play every single night.
But man, in that draft, let's say just in your draft year of that, you go the 14th round, there's the 13, 12, 11, whatever they had for picks. They may have skipped around here too, but there's a lot of kids that never made that team.
I've never really gone back to look at it.
Well,
but
you need to do that. No, okay.
No,
that's cool right?
I mean, that's what, when we talk to kids, it's about what you make of the opportunity. It's not, well, I'm better than the 10th rounder because I was drafted in the 9th round.
Yeah.
You have to work your way and try and leapfrog guys. That's what it's about. It's healthy competition that you need to try and make yourself into a better player so that you can play.
But I guarantee if we go through that whole draft list of that year, and even other teams too, you as a 14th rounder, I guarantee 99% of those kids didn't train 3 times a week, didn't do the stuff that you did, right? And I'm not trying to pump your tires because you don't need your tires pumped, but but I think that's huge, man. I think for young kids to realize that, like, if you really want it, you gotta work your ass off to get it. Like, and I'm not saying hard work's going to get you everything you need in life, because that's kind of a rainbow and sunshine. But if you work hard and you get mentored properly and you're getting pushed the right way, a lot of things can happen. Good things can happen, Yeah,
exactly. And that's why I think having those mentors along the way was very big for me, because I realized how hard I needed to work. And my parents told me that as well. They weren't hard on me at all, but they said, if you want to do this, you want to do that, we'll help you out financially to be able to do that stuff. But you need to put the work in. If you're not putting the work in, we're not paying for it.
Perfect.
And that was kind of stuck with me, and it's stuck with me now into my work career now. I understand you have to work for what you want to do eventually. So I think just having that mentality was something that was big for me. And I think any kid can do that. It's just, if you want to get up off the couch and go and work on your game rather than just playing video games or doing whatnot these days,
No, I think it's great. It's a great story. I think I just talked to a parent about this the other day, but real good kid, high end kid, has been high end for a lot of years and was playing really good hockey. And I said, you need to get some good people around him. Doesn't have to be an agent, doesn't have to be some, but just Coach Dufton, like these guys that you had that were like, you need to work harder, you need to do this, and just mentors that can help. Because if you heard this from your dad from the time you're 10 years old till the time you're 15, 16, it's white noise by then. You still listen to your parents, but you're like, how annoying is my dad? And then
you need to hear it from other people.
Yeah, your uncle from out of town comes tells you the exact same thing. You're like, hey, Dad, I shouldn't watch TV as much. Dude, I've been telling you this for 20 years, But I think like getting mentors around your kids, especially if they're high end, no matter what the sport is, I think is massive. And I think that's getting them to be hard on your kid a little bit, direct them the right way. And then you can step back and be a parent, and kind of like your parents did. Like,
for sure,
they were good parents. They helped provide for you. They probably gave you some criticism along the way, but you had other people in your corner that were going to bat for you and giving you some advice and trying to push you the right way.
I think my parents weren't ever trying to be my coach.
Yeah.
They would never say, oh, what your coach is doing is the wrong thing. So they allowed me to be coached by different people and learn from different people, and then still have their teaching points when I was at home or when we were in the car and I wanted to chat about hockey. But I think that's important for any kid, is surrounding yourself with good people. I mean, I know myself, I have a great group of friends, still the same guys that I went to high school with. We play softball during the summer. It's still the same group. And I think that's important for kids, is figuring out early when they're in high school who the people that they should hang out with are and who they shouldn't be hanging out with. Because if they don't have the same goals that you have in your life in being successful and trying to go as far as you can athletically or scholastically, whatever it might be, then you're going to get dragged down by other people.
Sure.
So I think making sure that they have the right peer groups and then also the right mentors along the way is huge.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, and you're going to go through this the next couple of years, and you have little rugrats running around.
No, not too early. Come on, Blazer.
I think as parents, so I think it's our job too to help our kids have that confidence to be able to say yes or no too, because it's easy to fall into that trap, right? I remember when I was young, we went to the Air Canada Cup, which was called back then the midget. And I remember being gone for the week for the Ontarios, and then I came to school for a week, and then I was gone for a week for nationals. And I came back, and like 2 or 3 of my good buddies had started smoking within those 2 weeks, and were like drinking more, not because I was away, just parties were coming up, it was springtime, whatever. And I remember making a shift at that point. I'm like, I want to play hockey. Like I always did. And it was, you know, I kind of just kind of switched my friend group a little bit, or hung out with other guys a little bit more. But I think it's important to get around a good group of guys, whether they play hockey or basketball or whatever, doesn't matter. But guys that are pushing the right way, respect it. You know what? I don't want to drink.
For sure.
And respect that, I think, is massive.
For sure. And a very similar situation to me when I was 16, 17. A couple of the guys that I hung out with started smoking or drinking, and I understood that I can't do that. I don't want to do that because I want to do this. Yeah. And the guys that supported me and wanted me to do well at hockey and wouldn't peer pressure me to do stuff to kind of stray that course are the guys that I'm still buddies with today and are my best friends. You know what I mean? I think that's important.
Yeah. One thing too, and I've never really brought this up before, but I want to get your take on this. But when I was young, I'm from Sudbury, Ontario. So small community, kind of, you know, big pool of buddies and stuff. But when I left home, I realized at a young age when I left and to play junior, I was like, I'm probably never going to come back to Sudbury because there's so much of the world I haven't seen. I've been secluded in the north for so long. Just want to expand and check it out. But what I noticed was, and for these young kids out there right now, if anyone's listening or parents have young kids, is my pool of friends when I first left high school was massive. You go come home on the weekend from junior, I was like, everyone is out. It was amazing. But what I noticed over like every year, my pool of friends got smaller and smaller. And now some people moved away and went traveled and did their thing. And now, you know, fast forward, it's like, I still got a lot of good buddies in Sudbury, but it's like 5 or 6
for sure.
Good. You know, so you go from 100 people that you hang out with and go to parties with and stuff. Like my point is, there's a lot of like fluff, you know, and when you really dissect it down to the core, that 80th person you hung out with is not that important. No. You know, at 16, 17.
And what they think about you.
Right, exactly. And
that's
it seems so important at the time, but now it's like, man, just get your core group of boys or girls that you hang out with that are good people, that are doing the right things. And if you have other friends hanging out, no problem, but like really keying on those people, you know, on those.
Spend the time on those people.
Right.
Because if you can't, one of the things I learned when I was in school is you have your social life, your school, your social life, your school, and your sports. You really can only do 2 really well. So focus your efforts on the ones that are important. So don't waste your time on the 100th person, like you're saying. Focus it on the 5 guys or 5 girls or whoever it is that you're really good friends with. And make sure they understand that too, that whenever you're free, you're trying to spend your time with them because they're important for you.
Yeah. Right? Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, it kind of gives you a better opportunity to focus on those important things. You're not worried about Johnny carving you on social media.
Exactly.
So then following junior, obviously you're captain at Plymouth and obviously have a good junior career. Were you kind of always leaning towards, man, I think I want to get a degree and kind of move the needle that way? Or were you looking at, maybe I'll try to play pro, maybe I'll try to go, which so many guys do out of the O, right? There's a kind of I wouldn't say 50-50, but there's 2 unbelievable opportunities to go either school or to try to pursue.
You know, I think every kid that goes and plays at that level of playing in the OHL and major junior, they all want to play pro. Sure. I wanted to play pro for sure. I had a training camp invite. It didn't go over well. I got sent back and went to Western. And at that point, I realized that school was my route. I had kind of been in discussions with Clark Singer at Western throughout that summer. I didn't know if any training camp or anything was going to come up. So I kind of had my plan in place, my backup plan, just in case pro hockey didn't work out.
Yeah.
And for me, I was always a pretty good student. I focused on my education. That was something that my parents always instilled in me because it's important. And I made sure I had that plan in place if the tryout didn't go over well, which it ended up not going over well. But Western was great for me. I loved my time when I was at school.
And for you being 14th round pick, not that I'm trying to hammer you on this, but
I was going to say, I knew I was a 14th rounder.
No, but I just want to really hammer this because I was never drafted. So you got me. But being a late pick and then going to, like, now a lot of your schooling is paid for. Yeah. Right. You maybe get a little bit of money from Clark in the program, a little bit. Right. So now you're going to school for pennies, not a lot of money probably, and come out of there with an unreal degree. Now at Western, you ended up playing 2 years, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And then what happened at that 2 year mark?
So at the 2 year mark, I got accepted into the business school at Western, and we were playing NCAA teams during my third year. I think we were in Miami of Ohio, and I took a pretty bad hit on a penalty kill. Head got smashed against the glass, and it was my fourth concussion that I had. Okay. So at that point, I had to make a decision. Do I want to keep playing hockey and risk my health in the future, not knowing what the consequences could be? Or do I want to focus all my efforts towards my schooling and my career post hockey? Yeah. So that was a very tough decision for me. I consulted with my parents and a ton of people that meant a lot to me to figure that out. But I realized that I wasn't going to be making money playing hockey at that point. So my career was going to be post hockey. Yeah. And that's kind of when I made that decision. And Western was great about it. Like Clark Singer was unbelievable when I went in and had that talk to him. Yeah. He understood where I was coming from, what I was going through. So can't say enough about how he handled that situation because it was definitely something that I dreaded going in to tell him. Yeah, for sure. You ended up jumping on the bench, I think, didn't you, with his young kids? Yeah. So not that year. It's during my fourth year of school, Clark. He probably realized that I was bored. I was bored just doing school. So he roped me in. He was helping coach his son's team, Owen, in the minor Bantam Elgin Middlesex team. Yeah. So I ended up jumping on the bench with those guys, which was pretty cool experience, guys. Now it's cool for me now seeing guys like Brett Harrison playing with Oshawa doing well because I coached him there in the minor Bantam years. So it was a good experience. And I learned a lot. You learn a lot through coaching, even it was just the 1 year for me. I learned a lot about myself and about how I can influence younger kids with their development. Oh, definitely. Now, kind of moving through Ivy, obviously a little bit of a prestigious school. It might have a bit of a reputation, but guys that graduate out of Ivy can get an opportunity to get, potentially their foot in the door on some good jobs or some good financial stuff, whatever you decided that you wanted to do. What kind of made you, or what was your path, I guess, coming out of school? Like, where did you want to get into something, banks or financial stuff? Or were you always looking to get into hockey? I worked at Bank of Montreal here in London for 3 months. Sounds awesome. I was watching the clock. I mean, great people. Don't get me wrong. Like if my boss was ever here, like my boss there, I loved my time there, but it wasn't something I was passionate about. It wasn't something that I went to work every day being like, oh, I can't wait to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always wanted to be involved in hockey. So when I was at my last year, fourth year of school, I thought, how can I get involved? So I thought the scouting side. I thought that was something that I could maybe throw my name in the hat and see if London had any opportunities. So I reached out to Rob Simpson, who I knew through a mutual acquaintance, and chatted with him a little bit, gave him my resume. He said, follow back up later on. So I followed up. And at that point, Jake Goldberg had just gotten his job with Arizona Coyotes. So just happened that I was in the right place at the right time. Possible. And as long as you reach out to people, like that's the thing I always talk to people about that are in school or once they're done with their sports careers is it's all about connections and networking. Like you have to be able to reach out and be comfortable reaching out to people, asking for help, doing whatever you can, because that's how you're going to find roles that you're passionate about. And I was lucky enough to get in there at the right time and interview with Rob, and he seemed to like me. So he brought me on. That was it. Yeah. So your first role there was as an assistant GM with Rob. Correct. Right? Correct. That's great, So I'm going in. This is my third year now with the team. Rob was the GM my first year, and then Mark came back last year. So now all three of us work in tandem on the management side, which it's been awesome. I mean, we're learning from a guy like Mark Hunter who so well respected within the hockey community and the teams that he's built in the past with the Knights. I grew up watching those teams in 05 and playing against them in 12, 13, which wasn't fun. But you respect guys like that, and learning from Rob. Rob's been a great mentor for me. I mean, he was in my role before, so he brought me on the right way and has trained me really well for this role. And then also learning from the coaches like Dale and Dylan and Steady. They're great people.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's a good crew.
Yeah.
And I mean, anytime I'm traveling around or things come up with the London Knights, you know, we're talking to hockey people, it's going to come up talking about the OHL. And one of the things that, you know, everyone's like, oh, they have a lot of money, that's why they're so good. I'm like, man, no, they're good because they work. Like those coaches, like Mark, Rob on the management side, the coaching staff, I mean, they work, they cut video. You guys are checking out games in Ottawa and wherever in Michigan, all over the place, man. Like it's crazy, right? So there's a lot of work that goes into building these teams. And
definitely,
you know, again, you go back to what we were talking about earlier, like hard work does pay off, and you can see it, you know, in them getting 9,000-10,000 a game to watch, and they're, you know, making the playoffs every year. And they're, you know, you guys always have good teams, and it's not by accident.
No, it's not. And I think that gets instilled through Mark and Dale. I mean, they're still out on the farm planting crops and pulling weed off. Crazy. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think that people that own the London Knights are still out doing the day-to-day blue collar work. So I think that gets instilled through them. I mean, Dale watches more video than anyone I've ever seen. It's incredible insane how much time he spends watching the game and dissecting and making different changes to his game plan as well. I mean, that's, I think, why I would say he's one of the best coaches in the world, not just junior hockey. I think his record and what he's done speaks for itself. But people don't realize how much time and effort go into it, with how hard Mark and Dale and everyone works. So I think that's definitely, like you said, that's the reason why the organization's been so successful, just because those guys work their bag off every single day during the off season. There is no off season.
No.
So I think that's definitely a big piece of it.
Yeah. Now, let's say in a crop season, roughly, how many phone calls do you get from the combine from Mark?
You can always tell because there's a lot of noise in the background and there's beeping from the tractors and stuff. So no, it's good. I mean,
but he never shuts off though. Like,
he never shuts off.
No, I mean,
it's always,
he can be legit. Like for people that don't know what a combine is, driving a tractor around the farm, like whatever, pulling whatever he's doing, cutting hay, and he's on the phone talking I've talked to him before.
Oh
like, where are you right now? He's like,
on the combine.
I'm on the farm. Like, oh my God, really?
Yeah. It never shuts off for him. I mean, I think that's why, people just love working with us and I love my job, because I go in and you're working around people that think hockey 24/7.
But it also takes a certain type of person to be able to work in that environment with those type of people. And they're great people. They're very black and white, very hard workers, and they love hockey. For sure. So if you're not built up with that mold a little bit, then it'll be tough, right? And I think it's not for everybody, but it's for, you know, if you do fit that mold, there's tons of opportunity for sure.
And they expect a lot.
Yeah.
But the reason they expect a lot is because they put so much into it. I think that's why it's fine. And I love it, because it's not like they're bosses that, when I say bosses, they aren't people that will tell you, you need to go do this, you need to go do that. And then they wouldn't be willing to go and do that. Anything that they're asking you to do is stuff that they've done in the past or stuff that they're currently doing. So, it makes you want to do well, and you want to work hard for them because you see how much work that they put in for our organization. And it kind of sucks, because if he asks you to go to Sturgeon Falls to check this kid out, and you're like, Mark, that's like 7 hours away. He's like, yeah, I know. I did it last week. No. And sometimes you don't realize, there's some times where you don't even realize that he just went on a trip to Ottawa or something like that. And he's coming back the next day and he's still in the office at 8 a.m. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's so much little stuff like that just goes beyond what people see. Yeah. And how hard that these guys work, that it makes everyone else work hard around them.
No, it's cool, man. It kind of sets, I think it sets that tone for you down the road, right? For sure. When you go to another team and it is different, you know, it doesn't change how you are, hopefully, and you keep going the way you're doing. Now, a couple things I want to get into that kind of won't keep you here all day. I could, because I love chatting about this stuff. Too. But now you, in the role that you're playing right now, like you are scouting, you're looking at kids, you're watching kids, you're, especially that minor midget age group, probably major band them a little bit too. But when you're out watching a game and maybe you're by yourself in your own little tunnel, just kind of watching, what are some things that you, as the, you know, the type of player you were and how you grinded it out and worked, What are some things that you really look at or focus on players that you're watching?
I mean, I think the big things that you focus on, obviously kids' skating ability. With where the game's gone to now, you have to be able to skate in order to play. So we identify kids that are good skaters, have a good stick. And when I say a good stick, they can make passes, they can receive passes, good shot. You just look at what they're able to do with the puck. And then you look at their hockey sense. How do they evaluate different plays that are going on? Do they see the second, third layer of attacks, that kind of thing? There's a bunch of different stuff that each player can have. And the ones that are the high end players, like the Connor McDavids and that, they put it all together.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when you're out scouting, you'll see guys that maybe have a good skating ability and really good defensively, but they have other deficiencies in their game that they need to work on. So those are the different areas that you're really trying to identify. But I think the one underlying thing, it kind of goes with what we've been talking about before, is their character.
Yeah.
And that's not something that's easy to evaluate. That comes through a lot of digging and getting to know the kids, learning the families, and what you're talking about with the families about talking at the rink and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
You learn a lot about a kid's character just through being around their parents. If their parents are at the rink and they're cutting up other kids on the team, pretty good idea of what their kid might be like.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but that's why I think for parents, they have to understand that how they carry themselves really affects what their kids' character will turn into. So those are the kind of the main things that we really look at, as me specifically, is you look for skill, hockey sense, skating, defensive ability, and then work ethic and character. I think those are definitely the big ones.
Has this happened to you before? Because it's happened to me. I'll tell a quick story and then you can let me know if it's happened to you. So I was at a rink. I had a buddy of mine say, "Hey, can you go check out my buddy's kid?" And he's in his draft year, or maybe before his draft year. Anyways, he wants to kind of get value on his skill and work on some stuff. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go to the rink and I kind of walk in, kind of just as the period's starting. I stand up by the glass. Don't know this kid from Adam, don't know his family from anywhere.
Yeah.
Within probably 3-4 minutes, let's call it 2 or 3 shifts this kid had, I knew exactly who his dad was, and I wanted to punch him right in the face. And I told the dad this after. I didn't go talk to him or anything. I watched the whole game. Yeah. And after the game, I met them out in the parking lot. We chatted a little. And the kid was a good kid. Yeah. But even the way the kid acted on the ice, a little bit arrogant, a little cocky, whatever. Yeah. I told the dad, I'm like, I walked in this rink, and within like 5 minutes of me being here, I knew exactly who you were. That should never happen. Yeah. The kid's a high-end kid, and you're banging on the glass, and you're carving your kid, and joke with other parents. I said, you're loud. Yeah. I said, don't do that. Like, you cannot act like that, you know? Yeah. And whether he listened to me or not, that's up to him. And so is that happening before you walked into a rink, or you're, walking around or talking to people and you're like, who is this person? Or, you know?
Yeah. I think it's definitely something that you're aware of when you're at the rink, and it's something that we want to pick up on. For sure. Like, we're looking to pick up on that kind of stuff because we want to know about a kid's character. Cause like I said, you can't really tell that much on the ice. I mean, there's different body language stuff and their work ethic and that kind of thing that you can, but you never really know what they're like in the dressing room, which is a huge component of what goes into scouting, because you don't want to bring bad apples into your team. Yeah. But you can definitely tell the parents around the rink, and you have a pretty good idea, because, I mean, there's dead giveaways, like when they're wearing the kid's number or something like that, which makes our job easy. Yeah. But you're aware of everything that's going on there, and the people that you like to talk to are the people that you sit down next to, and they're cheering on everyone on their team. And then you find out who their kids are, and they might be a high-end kid, but then you understand why that kid's the captain of their team or the assistant of their team, because their parents instill those values with them.
And this is really good advice for parents, because I think, I mean, you may have heard me say this before, but every single parent's crazy. And when you have a kid, you're going to be crazy. Like, everybody is, man. I'm crazy with my kids. If somebody slighted my kid, I want to, my kid sucks at hockey at one point, or at baseball, I'm going to lose it on them. Like, I'm going to want to. Yeah. But I think whoever hides it the best are the ones that are the least amount crazy. So some of these high-end dads or high-end parents that are just quiet. Yeah. And you're literally like, oh, do you have a son that plays? Like, yeah, my son's number 97.
Yeah, and he has Connor three goals, 2 assists. Yeah, exactly.
Like, whoa, like, I decided for an hour, he didn't say a word about it. I didn't hear you cheering. And that to me is like such a testimony to the kids. When you're playing high level hockey as a parent, an aunt, uncle, grandparent, you're representing that kid. You're kind of helping that kid out a little bit just by being a good person and being, Exactly. So I think the advice for parents is like, shut up, watch the game, cheer everybody on your team, and just eat, like, bite your tongue and eat all the bad things you want to say, or all the emotional things you want to say.
Exactly. And just have fun.
Yeah.
you don't get to see your kid play once they go play junior. You're not going to be at every game. So if you're at every game, just enjoy watching your son or your daughter play, and what you do behind the glass, they don't hear it anyway.
Right.
So they're not going to change their game because you're yelling at them from behind the glass. The only thing they're going to be is embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece of it, is just let your kids have fun and don't make them not want to be at the rink because they don't want their parent to embarrass them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's, you know what, it's, you know, Jason Bukala, right?
Yeah.
So I had him in just talking about scouting, what they look for and stuff. And he's great. And one thing he said about his own kids, he's like, one thing I try to do is, you know, if I'm not sporting events or doing things, is just, my goal is just not to embarrass my kids.
Yeah.
Like, so simple. But like, that's a great way to look at it. Like that makes total sense to me. You know? Just conduct yourself in a way that you're not going to embarrass anybody.
Yeah. And your kid's play is going to speak for itself.
Yeah.
What the parents are doing behind the glass or talking or yelling, it's not going to affect their son's play or their daughter's play. They're going to speak for themselves and how they play and how they work.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect where they get drafted unless it's negative.
And for the most part, like when you guys are scouting players, I mean, you're not going to probably draft a kid that you've very, very rarely, it might happen, but that you've never seen before or that you've only seen once or twice, right? At least one of you marked it, you know, somebody's going to have seen this kid more than one time or multiple times through the bunch of you guys.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, talk about character. You can have a kid that gives bullshit handshakes and like, oh, good job, goalie. Like,
for sure.
You watch that kid 4, 5, 6 times, you're going to see some of those tendencies leak out.
Yeah,
that smashing the stick or that
the body language.
Yeah, not passing because he wants to score. He doesn't want him to get an assist or him to get a goal or whatever. So I guess for you guys, like you think of that character and stuff. On the flip side of that, you may see a third line minor midget kid who's just like, this kid's got something.
Yeah.
Every game he's blocking shots, he's playing hard, he's doing things. So I guess my question is, you got the high end kids everyone knows. You could be a blind scout and you know who those high end kids are.
Sure.
But you know, where you guys, I think, hang your hat is picking up that 7th round pick, that 10th round pick, that late pick that might play. And what are some of the things that those third liners who maybe aren't getting power play time and aren't the main show every time they're on the ice, but what can some of those kids do to kind of help play in the OHL? Because I think we talked about this earlier, do things that translate to the next level. Don't do things that dominate in minor midget. That's going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to toe drag guys at the blue line in the O or in college or whatever that is, right?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is once you get up to those higher levels is figuring out where you're going to find your ice time. So those kids that might be a third liner playing minor midget or guys that potentially turn into a third, fourth liner in the OHL, you need to figure out what you can do, whether it's blocking shots, driving in the net, digging for pucks, playing like a Zach. We talk about Zach Hyman a lot.
Yeah,
he doesn't get enough credit. You look at how the Leafs have been since he's been out and injured.
Yeah.
They need him.
Yeah.
Because he does stuff that a lot of kids aren't, what's the word? They're not confident enough to go and play that type of style because they think they need to be going between their legs like Sonny Milano did the other night. You know what I mean? Like they see that stuff on Instagram and Twitter, but they don't realize how important the guys are that can go in on the forecheck and get a puck out and still be skilled enough to make a play.
Yeah.
Or the guys that are on the first penalty kill that block shots and get in shot lanes. Another one, winning faceoffs.
Yeah.
Faceoffs are huge in the NHL, huge in the OHL. So you go out and watch a minor midget game and there's guys that are playing center that don't care about their faceoffs. It's like, guys, like this is huge.
Yeah.
It's the difference between spending 20 minutes chasing the puck or 20 minutes with the puck on your stick.
For sure.
So little stuff like that where they're blocking shots, winning faceoffs, as a defenseman, being able to shut down the other team's top line, like different stuff like that is what you look for. I think for some of those later round picks that could play on a third line at the OHL level. And I think those guys still translate to go to the NHL eventually too. You look at guys like Josh Anderson. Yeah. I mean, Josh Anderson, I remember playing against him. He was a third, fourth line with London and he worked his way up, but he still plays that tough style game. Yeah. And NHL teams looked at that and saw that. And now he has a pretty good contract playing with Columbus. You know what I mean? So there's different stuff like that I think kids can really focus on that not everyone wants to do. So you have to be willing to do what other guys don't want to in order to make a difference.
And I think that character piece is a big one, right? Whether you're up 9-1 or you're down 9-1, you don't change how you play.
No, you're still playing the same way. You're still
playing smart. You're not trying to take advantage of, of opportunity, things like that. Like, and the other thing too is I think when you're looking at character is we talked about earlier about kind of impressing your teammates, but man, there's nothing better as a scout watching these guys play, and all of a sudden there's a scrum or someone hits their goalie and a guy grabs a guy. Not that he's going to fight. I'm just like, you don't do that. I'm protecting my teammate, or, you know, and I think those are things too that are character things that you can turn on and off once in a while, but the kids that have it all the time, it comes through.
It's just natural. Spades, it's just natural for some kids, and you can turn it on and off, which is good too. But that's the type of stuff that, you know, they're good teammates and they care about their goalie, or they care about their D partner or their wingers. You know what I mean? Like just little stuff like that really speaks to kids' characters at the OHL level and minor midget, whatever level that they're playing. Yeah, I know for sure. Now, you know, you having gone through and stuff like that, if you look back right now and kind of saw yourself at, you know, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, is there anything that you would tell yourself now then? So like, obviously you're in the game, you see the game totally different than you did when you played, obviously being on the management side and scouting side and stuff. But, you know, is there anything that you would tell that 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old that, hey, listen, man, if you really want to make it go at playing in the O or doing whatever, like these are things that you got to get tightened up. You got to make sure that you're working on. After being on the management side with the Knights and seeing different stuff that we do, I tell myself to work even harder. Yeah. So I thought I worked really hard, and I did work really hard, but there's different stuff that I still could have done, whether it was working on my stick handling, working on my shooting, working on power skating, whatever it might be. I still think I probably could have done a little bit more, and it would have helped me out to potentially play pro hockey. I don't know that. I don't look back and have regrets on what I did. Yeah. But it's definitely something where I don't think you can ever work hard enough. Yeah. So I think that'd be probably the first thing I would tell 11 or 12-year-old Colin. Yeah. So and Colin be looking at you, roll his eyes. I work hard already. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But I think too, for parents that maybe you're, you know, I feel like a lot of us, I don't know if you ever heard of David Goggins.
Yeah.
You ever heard of this guy?
I've heard the name.
Okay. So he's he's like elite forces, ex-Marine, he's an ex-military in the US. Unbelievable story. But regardless, his thing is, everyone is 40%, I think he says, but people shut down at like 40% of what they're capable of doing, which I 100% agree with that, maybe even earlier than that. Where, you know, I think I'm working really, really hard. I'm like, I'm done, man. That was a hard workout. Like, no, you can go more. You can go more. And I think as a parent, how do you do that? Like, you're going to bring your kid to the field and bag him till he pukes? Yeah. No. Maybe you put him around other players. Maybe you put him around other people. Maybe you put him around a trainer that is going to push him. And, you know, and so I think, like, to your point, you know, if you go back to that 12-year-old Colin and be like, you got to work hard. Like, man, I shoot $100 a day. Yeah. I'm working out. Like, what more can I do? And all of a sudden Johnny shows up, moves in next door, and Johnny's like running every second day and doing push-ups. Like, all right, I could do more. Right. Exactly. So get him around in those environments, or her around these environments, we're like, oh, okay, that's what that guy's doing. Like, Boone Jenner was a great example, man. I remember doing workouts with him and some of the other young prospects, and we were running at a track and did a pretty hard workout. Yeah. I was loading my stuff up in my vehicle, and I was pulling away, and Boone Jenner is laying on the grass doing crunches. And I remember pulling up to him. He's 17, like 16. Yeah. And I'm like, Boone, I said, oh, you waiting for a ride? He's like, yeah, my mom's coming or whatever. So he's doing, I'm like, don't ever change what you're doing. Yeah. Everyone else couldn't wait to jump in their cars and left. And that's okay. They had a hard workout. Yeah. I said, you're sitting here doing actually, like, don't ever forget this. This is what's going to help you hopefully one day. Yeah. You know, and he's such a good guy. But it was like, that was him, man. Yeah. I got 10 minutes to spare here. I'll do something. Make myself better. And that's something that I think we talk to our guys about too during their summer training and summer workouts. Put yourself around guys that are at that next level, because you'll see, you might think you're working hard, and you are working hard for the OHL level, but you're not working at the same level that these NHL guys are. So we constantly tell even our draft picks, work around OHL guys, work around NCAA guys, do a bunch of different work with guys that are already at that next level, so that you understand the stuff that they're putting in. So that way you can work that much harder. Yeah. No, totally. And I know, you know, you guys do the 2-mile run, you know, with the guys, and some people listen to this and be like, oh, it's so stupid. Yeah. Like, why do you need bench press? But I remember talking to the boys about this in the summer when they came in to do it. And I was like, guys, like, this has nothing to do with the 2-mile run. No. This is 100%. If you can't run for 12 minutes as an elite athlete, you're a joke. No offense. No matter what elite, it could be a football. It doesn't matter. You're a joke. Like, and if you can't gut it out for 12, 13 minutes and mentally power through that, obviously you haven't trained hard enough and you're not ready for that. But to me, it's all mental. Yeah. And you see it, like, guys shutting down, guys walking, and, you know, it's just that mental toughness, that paddling through it. Like you said, your body wants to tell you that you can't run anymore. You're cramping up here, you're cramping up there. But if you can kind of manage your own mind and make sure that you can keep working past certain things like that, then it just makes you that much stronger. And that's what
we look for when we do that 2 mile run with all our players.
100%. Yeah. No, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I hate the 2 mile run.
I hated it. I hated it.
Yeah.
Too.
But now, and I think at that age too, I think sometimes you don't digest things properly, right? We've probably been told somewhat of the same thing, and just in one ear out the other. Now that we're older, we got the wise, guys, what the workouts, what the, the mental check,
Yeah.
But I think those are all things, man. If young kids could get it at a younger age, how much they're already way more advanced than we were.
For sure.
You look at the skill sets and what they're doing.
It's unbelievable.
Their shape they're in, it's crazy how much more advanced they are, right? But I still, my big thing right now is, my soapbox, but physically, skill set wise, all that, I think they're way more advanced than we were.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, I think they're way less advanced than we were.
Yeah.
I think mentally, you and I would crush kids right now, just mental part of the game, how far we could push ourselves compared to them. And I'm not saying we were unbelievable elite, but Wayne Gretzky, these guys, I think I honestly put this on the parents. I put it on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on parents that are trying to do too much for our kids. They're trying to open too many doors.
Snowplow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? I got an issue with you as a coach. I'm not going to let Johnny talk to you. I'm going to come talk to you.
Yeah.
It's just let him deal with it. Let help them, but let them. And I think those are all things that hopefully will start to shift, because we're seeing such a decline in it that hopefully we're like, okay, we gotta make them.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it doesn't give your kids the resiliency and mental training that they need to play at that elite level. Because they don't know how to push themselves past certain issues or handle certain objects until eventually it happens to them at 18 and they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's good to teach kids young how to be able to confront different things that might be going on with their sports or their lives, and teach them how to work through that kind of stuff.
Even talking to like OHL GMs, just about how the game's changed, things like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that came up a couple of times with them is they deal with parents more now than they ever have. And whether it's parents or agents, because as well as I do, kid sits on the ice, the coach's office is 30 feet away, but now the player texts the mom, texts the dad, texts the agent calls you guys, like, why isn't he playing? He's 30 feet away.
Yeah.
He can come ask us, and you can't say that, and that was one of the things, was there's so much more interaction now with agents and parents than we've ever had before. Before it was just, thank you very much for my kid playing in the O, really appreciate it. Maybe there should have been a little bit more hands-on on certain areas. Like, when we talk about different things like hazing and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, like, man, sometimes it's something to be said about your kid being equipped with the right tools to play in the O and be able to be like, hey coach, why am I not playing? What do I need to do better? Right.
For sure.
And where back in the day, I think we had to do that a lot more,
Yeah. I think it's just how things have changed. Not for the better or for the worse. Like, I know myself, I deal with parents all the time, and I love talking to the parents because I want to make sure that their kid off the ice everything's going okay, whether it's their billeting, their schooling, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm in constant communication with the parents. And on the hockey side too, we're fine talking with parents, and we're happy to talk to parents and give them the information. We deal a lot more with the agents, I think, on that side. Yeah. But we also talk with our players. Our players know every single day. It's not like if we go and have a talk with an agent to tell them why so-and-so is not playing, it should not come as a surprise to our player, because we've talked to them multiple times on it already. It's just gotten to the point where their agent might be getting involved. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of differences with how there's agents now that are getting guys at minor Bantam.
I know, it's crazy.
So I think it's just all part of how everything's changing with the amount of information that's out there, and being able to easily talk to people. Before me, parents would have had to come down to the rink in order to see the coach. You know what I mean? Now they can just hop on the phone or send an email. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an easier way to communicate now, which I think has kind of changed that.
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure. And last couple of things, just a couple of quick little questions, but who's a player over the last couple of years who, it could be, we'll say on the nights, but someone that's really surprises, coming as maybe a late pick or a walk on or something like that, who's man, like, he has potential or he's done well, or he's kind of, someone that's even character wise is just like, man, he's, it was a good go.
You mentioned him before, but Will ahead. Mm-hmm. I think having him come into our team, I didn't know what to expect. I remembered playing against Will for our first year when I was with the team, but we played Niagara twice. You don't see those guys enough to really get a good feel for him. But he really surprised me last year with how much he worked and how big he was for our team, because there was a couple of games where he was suspended for us, and you really noticed the difference on our back end when he wasn't in there, just with how hard our guys were to play against. So Will was probably that guy for me, because being a free agent to sign to the OHL and then now getting a pro contract out of it. Cool. he was a good surprise for me, for sure.
Oh, that's great, man. And last thing, but any advice for young kids right now in minor midgets? So let's say I've got a young boys playing minor midget right now. We're kind of in October. We're playing our season, and any advice for them, kind of parents or kids, kind of going through it right now? Just stuff to key in on.
Yeah, one thing whenever I meet or talk to kids that are going through the draft years, have fun.
Yeah,
it sounds easy and something small, but you only go through your draft year once. So if you're constantly stressed over the draft year for the entire season, you're not going to have any fun. You're likely going to play worse.
Yeah.
So if you can try and limit the noise and limit every single mistake that you make worrying about it, everyone makes mistakes. Scouts see the mistakes. It's just how you respond to those mistakes is what we look at. So just trying to have fun, and for parents, just go to the rink and watch your kid. Don't
drink some horse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And support your team.
Yeah.
Care about your kid's team and how well they're doing. I think that's the biggest thing, because individually, we look at individuals that might be on bad teams that do well, but I'd say from our league down to minor hockey, the kids that are on teams that do well end up doing better once they move up, because you're on a winning team. Right. You know how to win. You've been around that culture. You know what it takes to win. So having parents that support that winning culture and being around a team like that is something that I can only stress to parents, is to have fun and try and motivate your kids to win.
Oh, it's good. And one thing you mentioned earlier, which I think I'd like to hit on, is, you can only manage what you can manage. So, the outside stuff and parents talking to scouts, or scouts talking to parents, whatever that is, doesn't matter. And as a player, just worry about your game. Be the best player, whether you're a third line guy who chips it in, chips it out and bangs and crashes, or a D-man who just off the glass and out. Be the best you can be at that. And one thing I talk to kids a lot about is just play within your box. If you're a skater, skate. If you're a hitter, hit. If you're a playmaker, make plays. You know, and your box can expand, but don't try to do too much. If you're a playmaker, don't try to go bang and crash all the time. It's gonna hinder your good parts, right?
Exactly.
Because I know there's a lot of pressure on these young guys, especially in girls too, and they're looking at scholarships and stuff like that. Sure. And I think it's one of those things where sometimes you got to settle down and why do you play? Exactly. To your point, you play because it's fun.
You play because it's fun.
It's not fun. Don't play.
Remember why you played when you were 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
And hopefully that when you're 20, 30 years old, if you're playing in the NHL or something, you're still playing for that reason. I think that's huge. And like you said, that was the best advice my dad ever gave me. Don't focus on stuff that you have no control over.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to be able to control it. So don't spend 90% of your effort on that. Spend 90% of effort on that stuff that you can control.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the best thing that kids can do in the minor midget year, or any year that they're playing hockey, or even past hockey, even once you get into the working world. Just focus on what you can control. Yeah, no, definitely. So, well, buddy, listen, man, I really appreciate you popping by. No problem,
you guys
Blazer. Thanks for having me
tonight. So, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
And we'll have to do this again. It was awesome, man.
For sure.
Thanks, buddy. All right.